My name is Lily. I'm 24 years old, and for most of my life, I've been afraid of silence. The kind that settles into a room after a door slams. The kind that lives in your chest after someone walks away. The kind that wraps around your heart when the person you trusted most no longer looks you in the eye. I used to believe silence was empty. Now I know it can be full of everything you never said. I moved to this small city 3 months ago. I told my parents I needed a fresh start. Truthfully, I needed to breathe. I needed to exist somewhere he hadn't touched. He, my ex, wasn't cruel. Not in the ways people recognize. But his love was like a cold wind, subtle, biting, impossible to get warm in. We were together for 3 years. I thought that was love. The kind where you shrink a little each day just to keep the peace. Where your needs become inconvenient. Where your voice gets quieter, not because you have less to say, but because it's easier to swallow the ache than explain it. So, I left. Quietly. I packed 2 bags, left a note, and disappeared. I found this small apartment near the edge of town. The walls were cracked. The ceiling fan clicked when it turned. But it was mine. I got a job at an art supply store run by a woman named Evelyn. She had kind eyes, hands that moved like she carried stories in them, and she never asked why I looked like I had forgotten how to smile. Some evenings, I'd walk to the library. Not to read, just to sit. The quiet there felt safe, different from the one I carried inside. And that's where I first saw him. He was always in the same corner of the library, wearing old jeans and a paint-stained hoodie. Messy dark hair, chipped fingernails, sketchbook in his lap. One evening, I sat across from him. He didn't speak. Just glanced up, nodded slightly, then returned to his book. It was the first time in months I didn't feel invisible. We didn't talk until a week later. I was soaked from the rain, shivering, clutching a book. I wasn't reading. He looked up from his sketchpad. "You always sit alone," he said. "So do you." That made him smile. Fair enough. We didn't say much more. But something shifted. Every evening after that, I found myself sitting across from him. Quiet company. No pressure. No performance. His name was Daniel. He was 26, had once studied fine arts, dropped out after his father died. He said, "The colors left for a while. I'm trying to find them again." I told him I used to paint too. I didn't explain why I stopped. He didn't ask. He just said, "Maybe you'll find it again. When you're ready." And for the first time, I didn't feel broken. I felt paused. Like someone was waiting for me to press play again. Daniel and I began meeting more often. Sometimes at the library, sometimes at a nearby coffee shop with cracked mugs and faded couches. We never called it friendship. It wasn't about labels. It was about space. He gave me space to exist. One afternoon, he brought me a small canvas. "I thought maybe you'd like to paint again," he said, eyes unsure. I held it in my hands like it might crumble. "It's okay if you're not ready," he added quickly. But I was. That night, I pulled out the dusty acrylics I had packed months ago and started with a single brushstroke. It felt like exhaling after holding my breath for years. The next day, I showed it to him. Just soft colors blending into each other. No shape. No form. But his eyes lit up. "It's beautiful," he said. It wasn't. But maybe he saw more than color. Maybe he saw me. That's when I realized I was starting to feel again. Not just safety. But warmth. Hope. Longing. And it terrified me. One evening, as we sat on a bench near the old fountain, Daniel asked, "What happened to you?" The air turned cold. I looked at my hands. I loved someone who didn't love me back. Not in the way I needed. He didn't hurt me. He just erased me. Daniel was quiet. I know that kind of love, he said. Softly. It leaves you doubting your own reflection. We sat in silence, not the empty kind, but the understanding kind. I still dream about him sometimes, I whispered. Not because I miss him, but because I'm still trying to forgive myself for staying so long. He nodded. Healing isn't linear. That night, Daniel walked me home. At the door, he said, "You don't have to be okay to be worth loving." And I cried. Not the loud, dramatic kind. Just tears that slipped out without permission. He didn't hug me. He didn't touch me. He just stood there. And somehow, that was enough. Spring came slowly that year. We spent hours together, walking, painting, laughing in fragments. I began to trust again. Myself. Him. The world. One evening, after painting in the park, I turned to him and said, "You make things feel light again." He looked at me like he was trying to memorize the moment. "You make me want to stay," he said. I didn't ask what he meant. I just leaned in. And he kissed me, soft, slow, like he was asking permission with every breath. It wasn't fireworks. It was sunrise. Quiet. Gentle. Full of promise. The night I told Daniel I loved him, he didn't say it back. Not because he didn't feel it, but because he was scared. "I lost someone once," he whispered. "My dad. Then my art. Then myself. I'm scared of losing again." I nodded. Me too. For days, we drifted. Not apart, but cautiously. I knew love didn't erase fear. It just held your hand through it. And slowly, Daniel did say it. Not with grand gestures, but in little ways. When he brought soup when I was sick. When he kissed my scarred hands like they were precious. When he whispered, "I love how you see the world," when I wasn't looking. We weren't perfect. We argued sometimes. I had moments of panic. He had days of silence. But we tried. We showed up. Again and again. I painted more. Sold my first piece at a local cafe. Evelyn framed it and cried. Daniel started teaching art to kids. I saw his eyes light up again. One evening, under the street lamp, he said, "You brought color back into my life, Lily." And I knew I had found something real. Not a fairy tale, but a home. Now, when silence comes, I no longer fear it. Because I know what it holds. It holds memory. Growth. Healing. Hope. I don't need loud love. I don't need perfection. I need presence. And Daniel is here. We are here. And for the first time, the quiet feels like peace. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming.